Hi guys, I'm Eileen. If you're new here, this channel is all about luxury minimalism and responsible spending. For me, things are supposed to serve us or add values to our lives. This is why I've always said the best investment luxury items, or generally everything we buy, are simply those we use or wear the most. So today, I want to share some tips on how to purchase the pieces you will actually use. The first way to make sure you buy what you will actually use is to apply the Pareto Principle or the 80-20 rule. This principle states that in most areas of our lives, 80% of the outcomes come from 20% of the input. So for example, 80% of a company's earning comes from 20% of the customers. Similarly, in the context of shopping, most of us only wear 20% of our clothes, bags, and shoes 80% of the time. So I think it really helps if you sit down and take some time to identify the pieces you tend to always reach for. Personally, I love my cashmere. It's something I have to have in my closet, and because I wear them so much, this is the department I'm quite happy to splurge on. In fact, I would much rather have 2 really good cashmere jumpers than say 15 pieces made of acrylic. In the winter especially, I can't go without my cashmere. In the last 6 weeks, I've been living in this cashmere loungewear set from Lily Silk. Now I have several cashmere jumpers, 2 Hermes cashmere scarves, and some cashmere socks. But this is the first time I've tried cashmere trousers or pants, and they are so incredibly comfortable. These are made of 100% A-grade Mongolian cashmere. The cashmere is a little bit on the thicker side, so it's perfect for the winter season. I love the brown color as well. It's like the perfect fit for my wardrobe. The top is a hoodie, which looks really cute. I love putting the hood on when it's really cold and I just want to snuggle up on my sofa with a book. It just feels so pampering. This is seriously the perfect loungewear set for me, and they are now my must-have items in the winter. Another cashmere item Lily Silk kindly sent to me is this beautiful turtleneck jumper. I'm usually a size small, but I went for a size large for this one because I really love the oversized looks. I think with turtleneck pieces especially, you really want the material to feel soft and comfortable because the last thing you want is to feel itchy or stuffy. I'm really excited to welcome this to my collection, and I'm sure I'll be wearing it a lot in the many coming years. For those of you who haven't tried cashmere, it really is a fantastic material because not only is cashmere soft and cozy, it's also very breathable, which is why it will keep you very warm without making you sweaty. On that note, please let me know what are the items in your closet that you reach for 80% of the time. My next tip for buying the pieces you will actually make use of is to recognize your lifestyle and, more importantly, make it your priority. Essentially, you want to make sure the things you buy are actually practical for your personal needs. Because if you have to forcefully adjust your way of living to make an item work, you naturally will not reach for it as much. So for example, if you have to carry your phone everywhere you go, don't buy a super tiny handbag. And similarly, if you don't like wearing jewelry pieces to sleep, don't buy a Cartier love bracelet. Instead, go for something that you can easily put on and remove. On that note, I think it's also really important to resist the temptation of wanting to buy for your future dream life. Typically, these are the things you currently don't have any use for, but you think they might come in handy in the future. For example, buying a lot of dresses for the weddings you are yet to be invited to, or buying clothes for when you are a certain size, or buying furniture for a home you might one day purchase. Don't get me wrong, I think it's great to have plans and goals, but at the same time, you don't want to plan too much into the future because that might distract you from the present. Besides, our liking and preferences might change over time, so you really don't want to over-invest into material things because, quite frankly, your future self might not even like them. Moving on, if you want to make sure the things you buy are actually something you will use, it's so important to listen to your own voice because at the end of the day, no one knows you better than you. While I see the values of asking for opinions from friends and family, ultimately what they think shouldn't be the reason you buy something. So for example, if you really like a Chanel handbag in a black color, don't go for pink just because your friend says black is boring or you have too many black handbags because quite simply, you will be the one carrying the bag. So what you like matters a lot more. This is not to say there's no place for opinions. I just think it's so much better and healthier to welcome input and suggestions without forgetting to listen to your own voice. Another useful tip to buy the pieces you will actually use is to follow social media accounts that feel relatable to you. For example, if you're trying to build a timeless and curated wardrobe, you might want to watch someone who is also into slow living and minimalism. That way, you know you're getting ideas and inspirations from someone who has very similar interests, lifestyle, and vision. I know some of us use social media mainly for entertainment, but truthfully, the content we expose ourselves to can really influence the way we spend and live. I remember years ago, I came across a makeup channel and I started watching more and more makeup tutorials. Even though I wasn't really into makeup, I started buying a lot of cosmetic products which I never ever used. The irony is though, the more I watched those videos, the more I felt like I didn't have enough because my collection was tiny compared to what the blogger had. Similarly, I sometimes had this feeling like I couldn't keep up when I watched channels that focused on constant shopping and designer unboxing. Part of me knew this way of consumption wasn't practical for my lifestyle, but somehow watching those beautiful people just made me want to be like them, and I developed a fear of missing out, which made me buy a lot of things I didn't really like. Eventually, I found minimalism and people who focus on being creative with a small wardrobe, and I felt like I was finally in the right place. Now, I've spoken a few times about how to declutter your wardrobe, but I think it's just as important to curate the social media content we expose ourselves to. With a bit of mindfulness, we can really use internet to our good advantage and find inspiring people, ideas, and content. Next, if you really want to make use of everything you buy, try to avoid buying pieces that you are too scared or too stressed to use. I'm a firm believer that objects or things should serve us, not the other way around. So if you're too scared or too stressed to use an item, it is kind of defeating its purpose. So every time you're considering a purchase, try to picture how you would actually use the item in your daily life. So for example, would you enjoy using it, or would you have to baby it because of potential issues like color transfer, delicate leather, or very expensive dry cleaning bill? You really want to be as honest with yourself as possible because otherwise you might be bringing a very expensive item home just for it to sit in your closet. Another thing I do that has really helped me to only buy things I actually use is to take stock of my failed luxury purchases and shopping regrets. Some of you know I've made a spreadsheet detailing the luxury items I've sold and how much money I've lost from each sale. If you've not watched the video, I'll link it up here, but basically I've lost about £10,000 from selling the luxury items I didn't really use. Honestly, it is so painful to look at the numbers, but trust me, it will keep you grounded. In fact, this spreadsheet is like a constant reminder for me to practice intentionality whenever I feel like buying something. I've also noticed when I listed out all the things that I wish I didn't buy, it reveals the trigger for my impulse shopping. So, for example, I've sold several red handbags from a collection, including a Chanel wallet on chain and a Celine Nano luggage tote. Both of which, by the way, were brand new when I sold them. To be honest, I've always been someone who finds it really hard to style a red handbag. But for some reason, I just loved looking at them to the point I would sometimes cave in, even though I knew I wasn't going to wear them a lot. So in a way, this spreadsheet is like a proof for me that I shouldn't repeat my mistakes. After years of shopping and decluttering, I've kind of come to the realization that the key to building a functional wardrobe is to be able to differentiate the things we love looking at from the things we actually love using. So those are my tips on how to buy the things you will actually use. After welcoming minimalism into my life, I now shop a lot less, but I can honestly say every single item that comes into my collection gets a lot more use. So I think the key is not about buying more and more, it's more about buying the right pieces for yourself and your wardrobe. So that's it from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Have a nice day.